Ask yourself how often you've been in a situation where your marketing metrics don't match reality or don't match each other across different systems, for example. Yeah. Say you have clicks in Google Ads, like Meta or somewhere else. You have sessions, purchases, and other events sitting in like a lane in different analytics tools, ad accounts, or your CRM. If that's happened to you more than once, you're in the right place in the right time. Today, I'll show you how to deal with this problem and what one of the causes can be. My name is Alex Ignatenko. I'm a fractional head of marketing analytics, and people come to me with exactly this problem very often. Today, I'll walk you through a real case how one company I had the pleasure of working with ran into this exact issue. Metrics not matching across ad accounts and analytics tools, and how I helped them sort it out. Spoiler, it was interesting, very complex, and it ended well. So, your metrics don't match across systems. What do you do? So, this is my work as a fractional head of marketing analytics with one of my clients called Triple Ten, an international online school operating in the United States and across Latin America. They came to me with what later turned out to be a fairly typical problem. The data doesn't add up. Picture this. They run ad spend in Meta, Facebook X, and they analyze traffic in their analytics tools, including Google Analytics 4. Yeah. The setup is clear and simple enough. And what do they see? The numbers don't match. I saw the problem too, and in a way, it was blocking them. Uh, so the question is this actually a problem? And it's a good question as long as your overall economics of your projects work out, the money you spend acquiring traffic pays off or pays off in a proportion that matters to you. Isn't critical, but you lose your levels of control, and it's really important. Uh, if say you have 12,000 clicks come in and only 1,000 or 3,000 users get attributed to Meta in your analytics, then in a sense you are not managing that gap. There is a chunk of traffic you don't even know is coming from Meta and converting. So your conversion metrics are distorted, your ROAS is distorted, and everything downstream is off. And it feels fine. Yeah, there is still more money coming in and you spend on acquisition. But it isn't fine because you are flying blind. You can't see what's actually happening and you don't really know how to get out of it. Again, it's not critical, but the moment you can't manage something, it becomes a ticking time bomb. And it's important. So, here was a problem. The session and click metrics from Meta didn't match in Google Analytics 4, and not by a little, but substantially. Not critical again, but it tied the whole team's hands. Part of the budget was being spent blindly because nobody knew whether the part was making money or not. In practice, Meta showed one number of clicks, and Google Analytics showed another number of session or users. And from there is not clear who's right or what to do next. Invest more, cut campaigns, dig into the creatives, and so on. So, where I started? Of course, it was the audit. Wait a minute. Mhm. I started with what I always start with, the serious audit, a technical and business audit of how decisions get made, how tracking works, how it turns into dashboards and visualizations, and where things can quietly get lost. I looked at the landing pages, how the tags were set up, how data collection was configured, and how it all flowed into the reporting system. So I have a specific method like for running these audits. If that's interesting to you, reach out and I'll explain it briefly. But this is where I begin like each of my projects. I spend a lot of time on it, where the data can leak and why the discrepancies were so large and so on. So in the end of the day, one of the key causes, like the real blocker, I guess, was consent mode. And let me explain it in a couple of sentences. Consent mode is the mechanic Google uses to control how text fire. Imagine a script installed on your website that listens for whether users decline or accept cookies when they click the buttons on your consent banner. You've seen this, I guess, hundreds of times. Depending on that choice, it just says, okay, send this data to Google Analytics, but hold that data back. And it was exactly this incorrectly configured consent mode that causes the discrepancies. Here is a small but important misconception you might be carrying. That if a user declines cookies for tracking, if they click no on the banner, their behavior shouldn't be tracked at all. That's actually not true. Current legislation, let's take GDPR for example, is more flexible and more nuanced than that. Tags keep working even when the user has declined the use of their cookies. Paradoxical but true. The data keeps flowing in, but for it to show up correctly, you have to get the consent mode settings right. And how I fixed it and what changed. There is the old mode called basic consent mode, and the modern one called advanced consent mode. And the advanced consent mode can unlock something like data modeling feature in Google Analytics. Configure it properly, which is exactly what I did, and the data flows into Google Analytics and lines up with what you see in other tools like MetaX, for example. So that's what happened. After the audit, we made adjustment at the level of consent handling, and the data started to reconcile. And it's really important. It didn't match one to one. That's completely normal because a click isn't always a session, by the way, and definitely not always a user. Yeah, your account fraud on everything else, just name it. But the situation became far more manageable. Suddenly, it turned out that there was much more traffic on my client's side than they would assumed from Meta, more conversions and more of everything. That let them make sounder decisions, waste less money on meta traffic, and work with it far more effectively. So the main takeaway: if you are scaling your marketing budget aggressively, but you never invest the time to understand exactly how the events on your website, purchases, signups, and the rest of it actually connect to your traffic, then you are pouring money into a bucket, and this bucket, like not an empty bucket, a leaky one. And there are more holes in your traffic, and the more holes in your tracking, the bigger the holes in that bucket. And sometimes the bucket stops being a bucket at all and turns into a pipe. Clear, yeah? So firstly, you get tracking right, and only then do you start playing with attribution, budget reallocation, and everything else. Never the other way around. Uh, okay, finish. That's everything I wanted to cover. The case is relevant for anyone spending on traffic and seeing mismatches in their data across Google, Facebook, Meta, TikTok, all of it. On its own, it's not a critical problem, but it can block you, tie your hands, and get in the way of good decisions. It's a solvable problem, and if you can't track on your own, message me directly and I'll try to help. As far as you can see, the case is fairly simple, minor even, but it takes a detailed understanding of how data behaves in marketing, how it moves between systems, and what constraints are like certain mechanics, like consent mode put on it. If you found this video useful, do just three things. Give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with anyone who struggles with metrics and that don't line up across systems. Again, my name is Alex Ignatenga. Thank you very much and see you in the next video. Bye.